At some point, it stops being about bells, folks. It becomes about control. Control for attention, of attention, and of behavior, and maybe control of what fills the silence. There's a reason something as simple as a bell lasted this long. You hear a bell, and your brain fills a sound that might not even be there. Not metaphorically, not physically. When a large bell rings, the tone you think you hear, that deep, singular note, can actually be missing from the sound itself. What you're hearing is your brain reconstructing it from the overtones. The signal hits your ears, but the final experience happens inside your head, right? So before we go any further, just sit with that for a second. A tool that doesn't just make sound, it completes itself inside you, which is wild. Now take that same object and place it in a temple, a church tower, a monastery, a battlefield, a factory floor, right? A school hallway. Same bell, same physics, completely different meaning. Or is it? Because for thousands of years, bells haven't just marked time. They straight up mark behavior. They've gathered people, scattered people, warned people, calmed people, and in some traditions, protected people as well. And depending on who you ask, they've either been one of the most useful tools humanity ever created or something much more intentional. Straight up ancient sound technology. And that phrase gets thrown around a lot. Most of the time it's vague, sometimes exaggerated, but bells are one of the few places where that idea actually has a real foundation, right? They were engineered with precision. I mean, long before modern acoustic science existed, right? Ancient Chinese bell makers were casting massive bronze bells that could produce multiple tones, depending on where they were struck. Medieval foundries refined alloys specifically to maximize resonance and sustain. They didn't have modern instruments, but they knew exactly what they were doing. And here's where things start to stack, right? You've got a physical object designed to produce complex harmonic sound. You've got a human brain that completes that sound internally. And you've got an entire society built around responding to it. So the question becomes simple. At what point does a tool stop being just a tool? And by the end of this episode, you'll understand how bells operate as ancient sound technology, how they've been used to shape human behavior across entire civilizations, and why their role today might not have disappeared, but it just changed form. Because we don't really live under bells anymore, right? We live under notifications. Different tone, but the same response. And if that sounds like a stretch, stick with me, okay? We're going to start with what we know. The physics, the materials, the engineering. Now we'll move into how those sounds were used to organize entire populations without a single spoken word. And from there, we step into the part that's harder to measure. The traditions, the beliefs, the ideas that bells don't just move air, they move something else too. But before we get into it, take a second, follow the show, leave a review, and share this with someone who looks at everyday things and asks, why does this actually work? That's how the show grows. Now let's start at the source. Okay. A piece of metal shaped in a way that shouldn't do what it does. And if you strip everything back before towers, before rituals, before symbolism, you're left with a piece of metal, right, that behaves in a way it probably shouldn't. A bell is simple on the surface, right? Cast bronze, shaped, cooled, and then struck. But the moment it's hit, the entire structure vibrates in multiple patterns at once. Not one tone, not one frequency, a layered stack of harmonics, rising and overlapping, and then slowly fading out. And yet, you don't hear chaos. You hear a single note, and that's the strange part. Because that note isn't always physically there in a measurable way. Your brain builds it like from the pieces that it receives. So the bell produces the structure and your mind finishes it. And ancient cultures figured this out without the tools we use today. Again, in China, bell makers created instruments that could produce two different tones depending on where you struck them. That's not accidental. That's design. And the materials matter. Bell metal isn't just bronze. It's a specific ratio of copper and tin hardened to hold vibration longer and to project farther. So it's made to carry. That wasn't about decoration. That was about reach. A bell doesn't just make sound nearby, it sends it out across distance, across space, across people, which brings up a question most people never ask is why did they need it to travel that far and last that long? And temple bells are designed to sustain not a quick hit, a lingering tone that hangs in the air. Everyone's heard those bells. But I don't know, man. Some people haven't heard bells. It seems that way. They're very rare now, in my opinion. Actual bells. But I digress. Scientifically, we know sustained sound can interrupt through patterns. It can pull focus and reset your attention. That's actually measurable. But this is where things start to split. Because in spiritual traditions, that same sound isn't just about attention, it's also about presence. So, in Hindu temples, the bell is rung to prepare the mind and invite the divine. In Christian settings, bells mark sacred time and push back against the darkness. And in multiple traditions, you see the same belief repeated. That bells don't just make noise. Bells actually do something. Now, whether you see that as psychological, spiritual, or something that we don't fully understand yet, depends on your framework. But here's what everyone agrees on. Bells can change behavior. They always have. When a bell rings, people move, or they gather, or they shift from one state to another. Not because they think about it, right? Because they've been trained to respond. So now you've got three layers stacking. A physical object engineered to produce complex sound. A brain that completes the and interprets that sound, and now a system that uses it to guide behavior. At that point, it's not just an instrument, it's a signal. And once you see it that way, the next question becomes unavoidable. Who's controlling the signal and why? There's a moment in history where the sound stops, and not gradually, it gets taken. And across entire regions, bells that had hung for centuries were removed, not because they were broken, but because they were needed for something else. And during World War I and World War II, governments across Europe confiscated church bells on a massive scale. Bronze became a resource for war, and the same material that carried sound across communities was melted down into artillery and munitions, and entire towns watched their bells come down. So you get this inversion. A tool that once gathered people becomes something that now destroys. Same material, different outcome. On paper, it's practical, right? War needs resources. But step back and look at the pattern. Resonance becomes destruction, and connection becomes conflict. And it doesn't stop there. Over time, bells start to fade from daily life. Fewer towers, fewer public rings. I mean, they weren't replaced. Something else replaces them. Speakers and alarms and digital tones. Then your phone. You don't need a shared signal anymore. Now the signal comes directly to you. Same function, different system. A bell rings and a town responds. A notification goes off and you respond individually, constantly, right? So now the question shifts. Did bells disappear because they weren't needed, or because something more precise took their place? One view says this is just progress. Another looks at it as a shift from shared experience to individualized control. And before everyone heard the same thing, they just did. Now everyone hears something different, and at different times or for different reasons. And sitting underneath all of it is something that we already know, right? Sound drives behavior, trigger, response, no thought required, which leads to a different kind of question, not just what the signal is, but who decides when it's sent. Before, bells were part of a system. They were part of a belief, okay? And that belief shows up everywhere. Different cultures, same idea. That sound changes space. It did, and it does. In temples, bells prepared the mind. In meditation, they guide awareness. In churches, they call people in and push darkness or something away. There are historical inscriptions that claim bells could repel storms and disease, even unseen forces. Now, that's not something modern science can confirm, of course, right? But people believed it across centuries and across cultures. As usual, that's not random. So now you've got another layer, not just physics and not just behavior, but actual meaning. And when you, even if you strip away that spiritual side completely, something still happens when a bell rings You've felt it. If you've heard a church bell, you've felt it. That brief pause, that gap, where your thoughts drop out for just a second. Okay? That's a measurable attention shift. But in older traditions, that gap is the point. A moment of stillness. And here's what changed. Modern signals don't create that gap. They fill it. Notifications don't clear your mind. They pull you into something else immediately. Constant input. Constant input. So if bells created stillness and modern systems create continuous engagement, then we don't just lose the sound, we actually lost the pause. And that pause, I think we know it. That pause mattered, and it matters. So now bringing everything together, a sound your brain completes, a tool that guides behavior, a belief that it shapes more than the physical world, and a pattern where it's removed, repurposed, and then replaced. At some point, it stops being about bells, folks. It becomes about control. Control for attention, of attention, and of behavior, and maybe control of what fills the silence. There's a reason something as simple as a bell lasted this long, not just as an object, but as an idea. From ancient foundries to church towers to factory floors. Same principle, a sound that tells you when to shift. And for most of history, that signal was shared amongst us all. One moment, one sound, everybody hears it. Now you carry it with you, and it doesn't ring for everyone else. It rings for only you. So bells didn't disappear, they evolved. And the delivery changed. The system stayed the same, signal response, only now it's constant. And that shift might be the most important part, okay? Because if bells created a pause, what replaced them rarely does. There's no pause. So the question isn't whether bells mattered. It's whether they mattered more than we understood. And if they did, what did we replace them with? If this got you thinking, send this to a friend who notices patterns most people miss. And if you're digging into this kind of research, reach out. There's more here worth exploring, I promise. Follow the show, leave a review, share it out. That's how Broadcasting Seeds grows. And if you want to go deeper, check out my book. My books. Work at BennettTantonBooks.com and at BroadcastingSeeds.com. Because at the end of the day, it's not about bells. It's about the signals you respond to and the ones you don't even realize that you're hearing. Have a great Monday.
When the bells stop ringing, everything got louder. Yeah. Ain't no towers in the skyline now. Just signals that follow you around now. Used to hear it echo through the ground loud. Now I whisper, but it still shut you down. Wow, wow, wow. Bronze melted, turned into a round now. Same metal, different purpose, different sound now. They was calling out, barking out commands. Used to gather, now scatter in the land. Yeah, I seen it in the patterns, no mistake. Every tone got a purpose when it break. Hit your mind, now your thoughts start to shake. You ain't moving cause you wanna, it's the wake. Wake up now, don't sleep on it. Every time it just react on it. When the bell stop, who replaced it? When the bell stop, who controls it? When the bell stop, you still hear it? When the bell stop, you still feel it? Different tone, same response. Different voice, same control. Yeah, yeah. Old world ringing, yeah, cut through the veil. New world buzzing, got you locked in the cell. Used to call you out, now I trapped you inside. Same frequency, just a different disguise. Quiet voices used to ride on the wind. Now static in your pocket again. You ain't praying, you just groaning for the fix. You ain't still, you addicted to the hits, yeah, and they know it. Every ping got a chain when you show it. Every ring got a pull when you hold it. You don't break it, you obey it. You just go with it. Look, I ain't saying it's a plan on the page, but it feel like it's a pattern in a cage. From the bell to the bomb to the screen, same signal, just refined in between. When the bell stopped, they melted it down. When the bell stopped, turned it around. When the bell stopped, still hear the sound. When the bell stopped, look what it's now. Different tone, same response. Different face, same control. They said it was progress. They said it was evolution. But tell me,
why you reach for it?
why you reach for it?
Before you even think.
Why your mind go quiet when it hit? That ain't random. Yeah, I'm talking that war in the mind. Spiritual pressure, it's a war on your time. They ain't need chase when they control what you hear. Every signal got you locked in the fear. Bell used to break it, give a moment of peace. Now it keep you in the loop, never release. No silence, just noise on repeat. No pause, just pressing the beat. Yeah, and it's heavy. Every ping like a hand on the lever. Every tone got you locked in forever. If you hear it, you move. No matter. Tell me you free, but you glued to the sound. Tell me you woke, but you stuck in the ground. Tell me it's yours, but it calling you out. You ain't in control, you just answer it now. When the bell stopped, they didn't stop. When the bell stopped, they just changed. When the bell stopped, still hear the drop. When the bell stopped, still in your brain. Different tone, same response. Different world, same control. Yeah, yeah, right now. Don't you?